Welcome to the Curiously Wise podcast. I'm your host, Laurin Wittig. This podcast is all about honoring, sharing, and celebrating the natural and experiential wisdom of my guests through curiosity-provoking conversations, shared stories, and tips we've all gathered along this journey. And from time to time, I'll be sharing my own stories and my own wisdom in solo episodes. Oh, and we'll be laughing. A lot. I invite you to join in the fun as we uncover the unique wisdom we each carry within us. Ready? Let's get curious. Hello and welcome to Curiously Wise. I'm so happy to have you here. I am Laurin Wittig. I'm your host, and I have an amazing guest today. Her name is Uma Shankari. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And Uma was born and raised in India. She left India in 1997 to pursue her higher education in the US. She has an MS in electrical engineering. She chose a career in IT and had worked in the corporate world until 2014. After 16 solid years in the industry, when she thought her life was set in IT, she had a spiritual awakening that would change her future forever in ways that she could not fathom. And that's what we're going to start with today. Welcome here to Curiously Wise. I'm really love meeting you, and I can't wait to hear about your story. So if you could just tell us how you came from being an IT person to a channeler and an artist in this awakened life that you have, I would love to hear that journey.
First of all, thank you for having me on the show and having me come and share my journey and my experiences. I truly appreciate everybody who is interested in learning about my story. So I was a very normal person, going to IT, didn't believe in anything. Well, I grew up spiritual because in our Indian household, it's an integral part of everything. So it's not like this is spiritual, it's just, it's woven in every fabric of life. So in 2012, I had a spiritual awakening, and it led to, there was a woman who was an energy healer. She sent an email to this group, and I didn't know her from Adam. I didn't care to do a service or anything with her, reading with her. So what happened was there was this nagging. I don't know from where it came from, either within my own, spirit or soul, or from an external guide. I have no idea, but it was this nagging to go do this session with her. And I was like, okay, this is so annoying. I just don't want to do this. I don't believe in these kind of things. So for me, in the 90s and to early 2000s, you would have these infomercials at midnight where all these psychics would come and rescue your lover and bring them back to you. That's the idea I had for people who did energy healings and those kind of things. So I was like, I just didn't want to do it. Then finally I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it to prove myself that I'm right. Lo and behold, I was wrong. I did the session and something happened within myself. She did a chakra healing for me. And one thing led to another. I started connecting with my own higher self. And I just opened up, just crazy. And then I said one day, I sat at my home one day in Chicago, and I said, God, I understand you for the first time. Show me something about love, a book about love. So I went on Amazon, and I don't know exactly what happened. I had this book, and it was called it's a Paul Selig second book. I'm just having a moment, Book of Love and Creation. And it was just the app title. And had I not had this session with this woman, I would have never read the book. So it was a channel text, and for the first time, I understood what channeling was. So it was a second book of the series, and I was like, being someone who's so logical, I was like, no, I should read the first book. So I knew I wanted to read this book, but I just wanted to be clear which one I had to read. And I checked, and I got the answer, just you asked for this, and just go ahead and read it. One thing led to another. This book was an eye-opening, and I brought this book back to family, and I read the whole series with my sisters. And in 2012, I had the reading. 2013, I started reading the books, and I was working in the corporate world, really big bank, one of the top banks in the world. And I was very set in my career, but something started just zapping my energy. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I thought maybe I needed a 6-month break and I'll come back and I'll join work. So I was like, maybe I'll find a new job and that'll fix it, blah, blah. But one thing led to another. In 2014, in June, something presented itself at work that made it very clear for me, I can't deal with toxicity anymore. I just can't deal with this anymore. And literally in 3 days, I put on a short-term disability and I left, thinking that I'll come back in 6 months. 6 months was done and I had no intention of going back. So I sent a resignation letter and I said, I'm not coming back. And here's the funny thing, right? I'm not one of those people who saves a lot of money. I made money, I traveled. Traveling was my guilty pleasure. So I never really, a lot of people would be like, oh my God, I'm investing in this, I'm investing in that. So people are very secure. I was not one of those people. I literally had 20 grand in my bank account. That's all I had. And but I knew I just couldn't do this anymore. So I just quit. In September of 2014, I quit. But that year, when I quit my job and I took a short-term visit and I came home, I thought I would be scared, but I wasn't scared. I woke up the next morning with just like this burden just released from my back, just washed away from my back. And I woke up with this huge smile on my face and I was like, okay, it feels right. So I did yoga every day. I went for walks every day. I met friends for lunch. I sat outside in Chicago cafes, just had a cup of tea and sat for hours. And that, like, I have never experienced true summer in Chicago. I just like I was always booked up at work. And then one thing led to another. In 2016, the author of this book that I just mentioned had come to Chicago. Said, I'm just going to go and do a workshop with them. So I did a workshop. And out of that, doing that workshop, it became very clear to me that I needed to just look into just writing. So I came home. The third book is about innate wisdom. I'm forgetting the name of the books, but anyway, one of the chapters in the third book is about your wisdom. So I pulled that chapter, I read a little bit, I centered myself and reached out to my own wisdom. And then I opened my eyes and I started just writing. I said, you know what, whatever random words are going to come, I'm just going to write. So just randomly I was writing. And then all of a sudden I started speed writing. All of a sudden I started speed writing. And in like an hour, I looked and there were like 7 or 8 pages and I read it. It was material. And what happened is when I started, and I've never written in my life, meaning I'm good at English. I love reading books. I'm a voracious reader, but writing was not something that came very naturally and easily to me. And I'm not like this amazing writer either. Like even if for sending emails, I was sent it like, look at it like office email that was said like 10 times. Did I write the right thing? Like, that's the sort of person I am. In 21 days, I wrote 21 chapters. Wow. Every morning I was woken up. I would feel this tinkle in my hand and I would just wake up at somewhere between 5 and 5:15. I would write it till like 7, 8 o'clock, read the chapter, put it aside. 21 days, 20 chapters, I was done. Wow. All my books, I've written 6 books. All my work is like that. Even my artwork, it comes in a flash and it's not like I'm trying to write. And when I write, I don't go back and check what I've written. I can't. If I check, then like I'm not trusting the process and it just throws me out. Right. I just have to keep writing. And sometimes I don't know what the next word is. I probably know the next few words, but I don't know the entire sentence. I have to keep writing too. Sometimes I'll be writing and I'll be like, that? Really? And like, I'll be like, okay, just trust the process. I'll be writing and it just moves. And there'll be times I'll get words that I've never heard in my life. Wow. That has happened. Yeah, wow. That has happened to me. And I've been like, I don't know if this word exists. Then I write it and I go and check, and there, of course, there will be a word. And sometimes one of those words, a couple of words, there are ancient words that you don't use anymore in English. Wow. I've gotten them. Wow, that's and I would be, okay, I don't know what that means. And, throughout, so it's been this really amazing process that for me is fascinating, because if I was someone who always wrote, I wouldn't be fascinated. if I was a writer, because I don't know what's coming next. For me, the content itself is very fast. Sometimes I'll write and I'll be like, wait, that. And once I'm done, I'll read it and I'll be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's just, because it doesn't feel like I'm writing, yet I'm writing. It's not like somebody else's take. Like, people have asked me, does someone take over you? I'm like, no, I'm fully awake, fully available, fully present, cognizant. Everything is just happening. However, what has happened to me is I have a very wide open third eye and a seventh chakra. When I read Paul Selig's book, my third eye and seventh chakra were just wide open. So even now, for me, it never stops. It's always pulsing with energy. If I speak about it, it'll start pulsing faster. So it's something that has happened to me organically and naturally.
Yeah.
So, so that's how it evolved. And then one thing led to another. Then I started writing books every couple of months. I would just start writing.
Yeah.
And so that is how it has evolved. And when I've only published one book, and for many reasons. And I have, I also want to be very sure, even though it is channeled, the more I'm getting attuned to channeling, I don't want any interference, and I want to make sure that the material that I'm presenting is really from the highest good, because I am responsible for that. I can't just put out some material and it's like, and there'd be a discrepancy, because there have been discrepancies even in my own writing, and I have to step back and, kind of like just look at it. So because of that, I'm a very, I wouldn't say cautious. I'm more really wanting the material to align with the highest good markets. And that is something I've taken upon myself. And because of that, I delayed things a little bit, and let's not just rush out and say, oh my God, Joyce, this has to go out. And I don't have that sense of urgency.
Yeah.
There's only the one that I'm going to give free for the public. That document, I wrote it in literally like a couple of hours. And when I read it, because the material itself, like it's so poetic, and I'm not a poet. I can't rhyme anything when I'm talking at all. Like, I'm such a different person when I'm writing compared to when I'm just talking. When I'm just talking, if you ask me to just say something, like kind of something rhymes, I'm like, I can't do it. Yeah. So sort of like I'm the same person, but I'm not. But something happens when I'm writing or drawing that just takes me out of this physicality. It just takes me somewhere that is, I'm here, but I'm not here.
Yeah.
So, somewhere I'm getting out of my body or tapping into something that is from the infinite cosmos.
Right. I do a similar kind of thing pretty regularly. After I meditate, I like to talk to my guides. And I do it either longhand or sometimes on the computer, and I'll just pose a question, and then whatever comes through, I write down, and I just keep asking questions if they come up, and then just letting it flow. And I'm always surprised when I go back and read it afterwards. It's not my voice. It's not the syntax I would use. It's not the word choices. It's often more formal than I speak. And I know because of that change, because of that difference, that it's real, that it's true. But when I first started doing it, and I was like, this is crazy, weird. But the voice was so clearly not me. And yet I was, like you said, I didn't know what was coming next, but I would get 2 or 3 words and I would just write them down and I would just go with the flow. And then I got some amazing confirmations and guidance and wisdom from all of that process. So I haven't done it in a full book form. I have written books. I'm a published novelist, but I use it as a tool for myself quite often, and also for my clients. And it's really fascinating to channel. It's just like, but I also understand your hesitance to bring things out without that urgency to it. Sometimes you receive things and it's like you're receiving them now because it's a good time for you to receive them, but it's not yet time. The time is, I like to use the word ripe, R-I-P-E. The time isn't ripe for it to go out into the world yet.
Yeah.
And so I totally understand that idea of receiving it, but not having any urgency to bring it out yet.
Yeah.
So that's very,
even with my artwork, I have delayed it significantly because my artwork is even more significant than my writing. And if I was fascinated with my writing, the art takes it to like an nth degree.
Oh,
But
okay. So let's talk about your art. I've seen a little bit of it on some videos, and it's beautiful. It's amazing, and I can tell just by looking at it that there's way more there than meets the eye. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. So tell us about
true.
the process and what, because there's a lot of symbology and just I don't know, it's just beautiful. But tell us about that and maybe why you're receiving it.
The question of the why is not something I really brought into.
Mm-hmm.
Like after being on this journey, when your chakras are open, you're tapping into the infinite.
Yeah.
When you're tapping into the infinite, anything is possible. When I started this journey, I used to ask a lot of, oh my God, why? What? Now I'm just like, okay, it's coming, But don't get me wrong, I'm not like, oh, I'm getting it. It's kind of shocking for me in a very pleasant way.
Mm-hmm.
In September of 2019, I was launching the first published book, The Lion's Wisdom. And what happened is I'm also into very healthy eating. And I had a friend of mine who was a big meat and potato eater, never believed in anything vegetarianism or anything.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm a vegetarian by choice. And also I grew up in an Indian household where vegetarianism is not unheard of.
Right.
He comes to my home and he's like very hesitant to eat, and he eats and his eyes go like wide open. And so I was publishing my book, and I was going to order food from outside because I ran a food business for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you should cook for your book launch. And I'm like, you got to be crazy. There are 50, 60 people coming. But I can cook for 50 to 100 people. But he talked to me on a Friday. And my book launch was Tuesday. And I'm like, I only have Saturday and Sunday in between. Are you kidding me? He's like, no, you should do it. So literally in 2 days, I cooked for 50, 60 people.
Wow.
And all vegan food, just a huge spread of, and I worked by myself in my kitchen. I just had one person helping. So when I went to my book launch, people just couldn't stop talking about the food. And so I'm like, oh, great. Thank God I made it,
Mm-hmm.
But what happened afterwards was so fascinating. There was this lady who came to me and said, can you cook for me? And I was like, I looked at her and I'm like, okay. She's like, can you make me meals? I was thinking about it, but I was like, okay, I'll do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was when I was cooking for her, I was not really cooking. I would go into the zone of just like creating. I would get ingredients and I would just be making this. I would get an idea and I would just start there. And, it just kept going. And when you're doing something passionate and you're not doing it for the money, but you're just doing it because you're just so warm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I was in that zone for probably a month or two. Mm-hmm. Just literally for a whole month. I did it. I would just buy this ingredient and I was just playing with it. And what happened was just being in that, it's very hard to explain, but it was such a meditative state for me. Doing it brought me so much joy. And just packing it and sending it to her. And she would just come and give me this fabulous feedbacks about oh my God, your food is so amazing. Mm-hmm. So it was but it was not the cooking. It was just the love, the healing, mm-hmm. What you wanted to give for humanity. Right. Everything was into one. Right after that, what happened was this openness happened for me. So on November 9th, I just had I was just sitting and I heard I'm going to write yet another book. And I was like, okay, it had been a while since I'd written it. It had already been 2 years since I'd written. Mm-hmm. It's okay, we'll see what happens. So I didn't realize on the 11th, it was 11/11. I didn't realize that was the day that it was being channeled. It didn't occur to me, Mm-hmm. So I woke up and I started writing. But the first or second chapter when I wrote, I heard that I was going to channel codes. And they explained to me what a code is. And I got 5 terminologies or words that I knew were real and existed, but I didn't know what they were. Mm-hmm. And you're going to laugh. It was metaverse, not the metaverse from Facebook. Mm-hmm. Meta codes, meta being. It was just several meta words. And when I heard that I was going to download codes, I was it scared me. because I was barely getting, even though I loved writing, it was pretty boring. No matter how much I'm going to say it's channeled, it never really feels real to me. It almost feels like I'm making it up,
Yeah.
So what happened is I was very like intimidated, and I was like, okay, at least I have until the end of the book. So I'm just going to finish the book, then I can think about it. On December 21st or 22nd, I finished the book. I take a notebook with trepidation. I sit and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just so scared. I've never downloaded any codes. So what happened is the word was metadata. That's what I was going to receive. And I'm like, I don't know what a metadata is. I just was stunned, and I'm sitting there scared, trepidation, with like so much of anxiety. And I was like, I work in the IT field. So the word metadata, there is an IT phrase, metadata. And, so I said, you know what? I know from an IT perspective what metadata. That's all I said. And then I put my hand and I started drawing all these symbols. One of my friends, they were all like quantum physicists, and I showed it to them, and they did some research, came back, and they said, this is light language. So I went and typed light language. I took that and I compared it with mine. It was exactly the same.
Wow.
Like almost identical.
Then
I kept doing, and it kept evolving. I don't think I was being told to write the light language. I think that I was being shown so that I can get some confidence within myself that I'm on the right path. So from 22nd until like December 29th, I just kept random. Like it was just like nonstop. I would just keep writing. And one day I knew that I had to go and get like a drawing notebook and some markers. I came home within like an hour. I drew like 4 diagrams, all very musical in nature.
Wow.
In an hour. See, the thing about my work is I do things very fast. I don't think it's just like it's just like I take it, I'm done, something like that. On June 2nd, I knew I had to draw it on black paper. Don't ask me how I know it. It's, people say it's annoying. It's almost like if you want to have a glass of water, you don't say, I know I need to get. It's just like you get up and you go. For me, my entire artwork was like that. I just got up. I knew what paper I needed. I knew what kind of pens I needed. And I started drawing. But period when I was drawing when I started drawing, was this amazing time of my life, because I got up every day. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to get today. What's in store for me today? I was so excited about it. I wish I had the same excitement right now. It's gone. It's just the newness of it. And then it kept evolving and evolving. And I just, there's one art you can see in the back. That's one of the artwork. So it just kept evolving. And then I go to the store, and I'm not a trained artist. I have never drawn in my life. I don't know how to use paintbrushes. I don't know how to use paints. Like, I didn't know there was something called acrylic and there's something called oil color. I have no idea. So then as the work kept evolving, I would just go to the store and say, I want this kind of paint. So, yeah, we have it. And then I would say, I need this kind of pen. And I would say, do you have this kind of glitter? And then just kept evolving. So basically, my artwork is not about codes. It's not about symbols. Most people that are drawn to my artwork are like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And it's so funny. Like, I tell people, great, I hope you love it. Can you get past the beauty of it and see through it? And people get very agitated about it. They're like, why would you say that? It's so beautiful, but I'm trying to convey something. And what it is it's a portal to the cosmos. Oh, wow. So people have to come out of that, they get hooked. But what happens is, I tell people this a lot, and even the most evolved spiritual people have a hard time with it. Meaning, when you're looking at the artwork, get out of the way. Meaning, just people will say, oh my God, that's my spiritual color. Or that's because that's a limitation.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's simple. That's so me. Or, oh my God, that's, I would say, actually, it's none of it.
Hmm.
Can you set aside all of that and just be with the image and let the vibrations in the image get through to you?
Mm.
And it's the most difficult thing people
Yeah.
have with it, because you have to really be at the receiving end and just not do anything and still
Hmm.
receive it
Yeah. It
and not really do anything.
feels almost like you would meditate with it. No.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to sit with it.
Yeah. There used to be, when my kids were little, there were these 3D books that got printed where if you looked at it, it didn't make any sense. But if you relaxed your eyes and just allowed the focus to change on its own, you would suddenly see this whole world come alive. And that's what it reminded me of, that when you were talking about it. And I got goosebumps, which people who know me means that I've hit a truth. So yeah, that's fascinating. They are beautiful. I've only seen a few on your website. I haven't looked at them very closely, but they are dramatically beautiful.
Would you like
But
to see one of them?
I would love to. Yes, please.
This is my latest work.
Oh, goodness. Oh, wow. That's beautiful. So for those who are only hearing this, you'll have to go to the video when it's published to see it, because it's just beautiful. It reminds me of a nautilus shell or the circle of time, or there's just so many. And I'm immediately drawn to the middle of the spiral. Just like, that's where I want to go. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow.
So almost all my work is Nautilus shell. About
Okay.
90% of my work is Nautilus shell.
Hmm.
So what happened is, this is part of the evolution within me, is I've never been huge on religion. And for me, it's been a comeback to Hinduism, because a Nautilus shell, before I started drawing, I was not so much into Hinduism, even though the chakra system and everything originated in Hinduism. What happened was, when I came back to India, every single temple has a nautilus shell. Every single deity you have seen has a nautilus shell.
Huh.
So what it is it's a morphogenetic consciousness field that is within the nautilus shell. So it also has a frequency of 7.83 hertz, which is the same as the frequency of the sound Om. And it is the same as the frequency with which the earth is spinning, the sound that the earth makes. So I had this huge awakening into my own artwork out of coming back to India. And I came back to India in 2020. Last year, I moved back to India. So every work of mine is an nautilus shell, and there is a particular frequency in that. And I haven't done any research on that. The only thing I did was I gave it to a very renowned remote viewer to just take a look at it. What she told me was she was able to hear harmonics, sound harmonics.
Yeah.
And my younger sister, who passed away a couple of months ago, she was able to hear sound harmonics. And a few people have come back and said they've heard sound harmonics. So the artwork is about the sound harmonics it carries and the cosmic energy that it has. And it's we have to really break the limitation and just be open to something beyond what we have experienced, because spirituality can become a limitation.
Yes.
And to really break that limitation of spirituality and just be open to just learning a little bit more. And what I did was, within 2 months of drawing, so as I was drawing, I knew how to use it for spiritual healing. I wasn't told that these are the external steps I should do. I just knew how to do it. And I followed the same process that I knew with a bunch of my friends. I invited them home and I showed them the artwork, and I did a session in Chicago. People were like able to feel things in their body. They could. Some people were not spiritual. They said, one person came and said, "I feel something here." It's like, that's
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Is it normal? I'm like, yeah, anything is, it is normal actually.
Yes,
But, so I haven't really done a full-fledged spiritual healing for people, because myself, it's sort of like, you're given a new technology to use. And nobody else has used it. So you have to be really careful and make sure everything is, you understand things before you just go and test it on people.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of in that place of like, just sort of like really coming to a good understanding of my work before just saying, this will just heal you. That'll be a very arrogant thing for me to say, but I know people have had, certain things happen within their body and
Yeah.
certain information come out and all kinds of things. And it's been fascinating for me to sit on the other and like, oh, you feel that? Oh, really? Like for me, it's like, because I'm like the child, the student that's learning from my own artwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's the thing. So
Well,
I
and I
also
just want to share with you, just looking at that picture for just 30 seconds or so, I can feel a heart opening happening. I mean, it's very palpable. I can feel it spinning and I can feel it growing, which is kind of amazing because, you're in India and I'm here in Virginia, and just looking at it for a few moments is already, I mean, it's kind of making me teary because it just feels so lovely. Yeah. I'm going to have to get some.
So here's the other fascinating thing, right? When I first started drawing, I would literally finish an artwork in like 30 minutes. 30 to 45 minutes, I would be done.
Mm-hmm.
And, even today, I can't explain what that is. And I would sit and I wouldn't be like, oh, this is what a normal artist, they have a frame of reference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have it.
Yeah.
So they come with an understanding what they want to draw. For me, that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm coming and I'll be like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to get today,
Right. Right.
And I just have to go with the flow. And what's fascinating is when I used to draw, I would be thinking that the line is going this way and something would happen and the line would go this way. Either I would hit the table or something would happen. And that was how it was supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be like using a paint and it would spill.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be like, oh my God, what happened? I would be like, oh, that's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So one of the things I learned from my artwork was when you're very present and a mistake happens, that is not a mistake. It's something that is meant to happen within the artwork or in your personal life. When you're really making mistakes constantly as a pattern, that's not a mistake. It's a pattern that we have created for ourselves. And this mistake is something that's in every artwork. A lot of my artwork, they're not precise at all. So I don't use a lot of tools. So this particular artwork mostly is by hand. There are some lines I drew, but even those lines, I didn't use them.
Okay.
And I don't use any tools to draw them. The Nautilus shell is hand drawn.
Okay. Wow. That's impressive.
They're not, they look very precise, but they're not actually precise. But it gives you an illusion of this precision that doesn't exist. So I want to use this artwork as an example because you'll understand what I'm talking about. So this is one of the earlier artworks I drew.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Precise it is.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's not precise at all. So I didn't measure anything at all.
Wow.
The lines are not equally spaced at all.
Yeah. Okay.
But it gives you an illusion of precision.
Yeah. Yeah. I see the music in it too.
It's very musical.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, only the lines were drawn with a scale. But if you look at this side, they're very evenly spaced and precise. But it's all hand drawn, freehand.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is one of my earlier drawings when I had just begun to draw. So this is the one I showed you. When I drew this particular one, even today, this is my absolute, I've drawn a lot of amazing things since then. But this particular artwork I drew and I went into a funk because I fell in love with it. And I was so sad because I was like, I can't reproduce this. And I don't think I can draw anything like this ever again. And I'll be honest, till to this day, I don't think I can't reproduce any of my artwork. Give it to me and you say, can you reproduce it? I can't do it.
That's because you're doing it channeled.
Yeah. So for example, a good example for me is once in a blue moon, I will get an artwork that flashes in front of my eyes. It just flash. But I don't have the time to understand what the whole thing was. But I won't sit and try to recollect it. If I try to recollect it, I'm trying to replicate something that exists. The whole point of this is like, I need to use my own free spirit to draw it. So otherwise I'm copying something that exists in the cosmos. So I had to really use my free spirit and freedom while really downloading the art at the same time. So it's kind of this very interesting phenomenon that cannot be explained by words or even by myself at all.
I love how open you are to just really let whatever wants to flow through you flows through you. I know that I at times resist that, and I don't do it on purpose. It's fear or ego, but I've worked a lot to release that. But you are so wide open to accept and receive, and it's just beautiful. And you can see that you're a pure channel, I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Laurin, I think my acceptance is not because I'm unique. I think because I'm doing something. You're a novelist, right? You're a novelist, and then you're writing it, right? So there is the similarity in background exists, and I want to explain this to people as well, because I don't want people to think like I'm this extra special at all. I think mainly because I was not an artist, and then I started drawing. I really don't have any expectations. And I think that is why it makes me a good candidate for this.
I agree.
Had I been an artist and I allow it, I would have all kinds of
that's right.
Because there are areas in my life I don't allow a lot of things, even in my spiritual world. So this is one of the reasons why I'm able to allow it freely. Yeah. Because I don't have any frame of reference. And people have looked at my art, and someone came and said, well, this is kind of like Mexican, there are names for certain art, the certain kind of work. They'll say, oh, this is that. And I'm like, oh, so whatever I'm doing already exists in the universe and in the world. And I'm just one day I wake up and I start drawing. Yeah. I've heard in the past that there was this guy who never knew how to play a piano. One day he just woke up and he started playing. I'm one of those people.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's I'm fascinated by my own art because I didn't know how to do it. Right. We started singing all of a sudden, and nobody had to teach me. Right. So then you don't have a choice but to trust it, right?
Right. And that was my experience with my healing work, is that it was just suddenly I realized I could sense chakras. That's where it started in myself and then in other people. And then I learned to kind of work with them, but totally intuitively were guided, So that's for me, that's where I get that total joy, because I call myself, I work kind of like a jazz musician. I've taken some classes now, but it's I use this and then, this is what I need right here. And then I'll pull this in and, and it's and then I do something completely that I've never done before. And, so I think that's where I'm in that flow state that you're talking about. And it brings me so much joy when I get to do that kind of work for people. So I get it. All right. This has been really, really interesting. I want to move on to the rapid fire questions real quick.
Okay. Great.
And then we'll get
to see some more artwork, or are you good?
You know what? Show us another one. Oh, wow. That one's pretty cool too. Oh, see, I could just stare at these, just sink into it. That's beautiful. Yeah. I like the black background because it feels like you could just sink into it. You could just pass into it. Oh, wow. Oh, that's an excellent one. That one looks 3D to me. As you move it around, it looks very 3D. It's very interesting.
Actually, it is a multidimensional image.
Is it? Okay.
So you can hang these images any whichever way you want. So they don't have a direction. They have layers of layers. And so it has a lot of layers into it.
Oh, that's really interesting. I am just mesmerized by these things. These are
So one of the things I was going to say was I had drawn over 200 pictures within a matter of 10 months.
Wow. Yeah,
most of my work was done in 2020. Wow. Because I came to India to take care of my dad, so I haven't had time to really sit and draw.
Oh, I love the stars in that one. That one also looks very 3D. It's wow.
They're all very 3D.
Yeah. Just beautiful. So again, for those who are just listening, this will be out on video eventually. And they are beautiful. And she's going to tell us where you can go and see more of them too. Yeah. They move. It's really interesting. I mean, I know that you're not holding it perfectly still, but they move.
They do move. Actually, I call them kinetic because they have a movement. To be honest with you, I think there's a lot more to my images than what I have explored.
Yeah.
And I also want to be careful who I give these images to.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just give it to everybody.
No, because they're very powerful.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I usually
I'm so happy to see these. Well, thank you for sharing those with us because they're really beautiful. And we will get her to let us know where her website is and stuff in a few minutes. And that'll all be in the show notes too, of course, including your book. So rapid fire. These are just real quick. I ask all my guests the same questions. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet, but they're just kind of fun. So the first question is, who is or was the wisest person in your life?
my sister.
The one that passed?
My younger sister. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Can you tell us why she was so wise?
We have 4 children, my older brother, sister, me, and then her. But wisdom-wise, she was the first. It was kind of reversed. In my family, it's completely reversed.
Okay.
Wisdom-wise. So something happened in my life with one of the family members. And it was a big one, but she never told me. She didn't tell me because she knew that was not the appropriate time to tell. She knew I wouldn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
She waited nearly 6-7 years before she told me what happened.
Wow.
And I asked her why she didn't tell me. She said, you wouldn't have listened to me even if I told you.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and also she was the reason I got married.
Oh.
I'm 49, and before she passed away, she made sure I got married. And 2 months later, she was gone.
Oh.
So yeah, she means a lot to me.
She's still watching over you. I can feel
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Lovely. All right. What's your favorite self-care practice?
Yoga in the morning.
Okay. That's a lot. I hear that one a lot. I love yoga. I'm not good at doing it on my own. So one of the things I want to improve. What lights you up when you're feeling down?
My husband.
Okay.
He really has, if there is something to look forward to, being single all these years, I just lived my life.
Mm-hmm.
But him coming into my life has made it very different and look forward to, because there's someone that's just waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's him always that when I am down, he's the one who's right next to me and saying, it's going to be okay.
Good.
So, yeah.
Good husband. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And do you have a favorite mantra or affirmation?
Yes. The Gayatri Mantra. Have you heard of it?
I don't think so.
The Gayatri Mantra is a source of all mantras in the ancient Indian tradition.
Okay.
The Gayatri Mantra is about the quasar, which is trillion times more powerful than the sun. And it is the one that gives prana to earth, which is life force to earth. And in every Indian home, Gayatri Mantra is the ancient mantra that's uttered. And when you utter the Gayatri Mantra, it's not about the meaning of the mantra. It is actually the syllables and the sound. It actually impacts the DNA and it brings a scalar of energy.
Could you say that one for us?
Gayatri Mantra.
Gayatri Mantra. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Tell us where we can find you online.
Okay. You can find me at www.umashankari.com. My website is not yet completely business oriented. So if you see something, you like it, email me. I'll give 10% off until the month when the episode goes live. Just let me know the whole month. I'll give a 10% off.
Let you know
For those who order an image from the website. I also have more artwork if anybody wants to, select from a different pile, which was the other question. You can also reach out to me on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Uma Shankari author. I think I've given the information to you, Laurin. I'm also on Instagram. So there's very many ways to get hold of me. The email is best.
Okay.
Shoot me an email. I always check my email.
Good to know. All right. Well, this has been fascinating. And the images, again, if you're listening to this and not seeing it, we will be bringing this out on video eventually. I don't know when exactly. We'll add that to the show notes eventually, but it's an evolving process here. But they're amazing. And I know that you do have a few of them up on your website because I saw some of them there. And I think you also have videos on YouTube I was looking at.
Yes, my husband, he puts videos on YouTube. There are some of them on YouTube as well.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. So you can find her on YouTube as well. Again, we'll put that in the show notes. All right. This has been lovely. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And to the listeners, thank you for joining us in this amazing conversation. And I hope that you'll return next Tuesday for the next episode of Curiously Wise. Thank you so much for joining us today on Curiously Wise. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future fabulous conversations. And if you had any ahas, please share them in a review on Apple Podcasts so we can continue to pay forward the unique wisdom we all have. If you want to know more about me or my intuitive energy healing practice, Heartlight Wellness, please head over to my website, www.heartlightjoy.com. Curiously Wise is a team effort. I am grateful for the skill and enthusiasm Arlene Membrot, our producer, and Sam Wittig, our audio engineer, bring to this collaboration. Our music is Where the Light Is by Lemon Music Studio. I'm Laurin Wittig. Please join me again next week for another episode of Curiously Wise. From my heart to yours, may your life be filled with love, light, joy, and of course, curiosity.